Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody. Oh, wow. Look at the time. It's 5:09.
Dun,
Look.
dun, dun.
Yeah. You have no idea. I literally rushed back from picking up the kid from daycare, and it just so happened that everybody drives so slow. So slow. It's like, why do we have to go 25 miles an hour on a 55? Anyway.
In
So
New
I'm
Jersey,
here,
of all places. Go
of all
figure.
places. And I have the kid in the back, so I can't be reckless. But not that I would if I didn't have the kid in the back. But anyway, thank you for everyone for tuning in today. I know it's been a while. Life happens. I hope you've all been well. Hope everything has been swell.
In that regard, I just found out like half an hour before coming on today that my granddad's like in the ER and
sorry to
really
hear.
not doing well. So I might need to either randomly step away for a minute or actually kind of abruptly
short?
end. I'm waiting on a phone call to hear how he's doing, but just that is going on in the background. So apologies up front if that happens, but hopefully we can get through the show.
Sorry to hear, Beefy. And look, life happens. Life happens. Nothing lasts forever. And you just have to push through it. All right. But totally understand. And it sucks.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be okay. He's
I hope he'll be okay.
98.
Oh, wow. He lived a long life. Good.
He's living a long life.
Living a long life. Is that the father of your mother or father of your father?
The father of my father. Hey!
Father of your father.
Coffee Cake's in the house. Holy cow, I haven't seen Coffee Cake in a minute. How you doing?
Hi,
Coffee Cake?
Yes, I know Coffee Cake. Yes.
They
Hi, Coffee Cake.
Infamous in the Daryl Brooks and or true crime community. What is up?
Yes.
Coffee Cake.
Yes. Okay, let me just go with the tagline before we get too comfortable. Okay. Again, this is a space where we talk about everything and everything. I'm your host, Alistair. I'm co-hosted by
Beefy, your shit talking girlfriend.
Absolutely. And this is a safe space where we can talk about literally anything we want. So come with an open mind, expect to be offended a little bit, but don't take it too hard because everybody's different. Everybody has different opinions.
Yeah.
And, give everybody the margin of error to have errors. That being said,
otherwise you can go to the bakery and make a coffee cake with our coffee cake friend.
Make a coffee cake.
For coffee cake.
Oh my Lord.
Make coffee cakes with coffee cakes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have the usual offenders in chat.
Yeah,
we got Jonesy. Oh, Charlotte. We love our Charlotte. Bonsoir,
Charlotte.
Yes. Speaking gibberish, not French. Yeah.
That's funny.
How are things in your world, my friend?
I just got a I'm also going to be distracted. I got a very bad email from my lawyer. And so after this call, I have to deal with some serious-ish.
Somebody suing you?
No. But did I tell you the story when someone actually did sue me? That's for another day. That's for another day.
He's like, Beefy, don't you take me down that sidetrack. We'll be talking about that for the next 20 minutes.
Forever. Yes. I got sued and I won. Nice. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, don't go down the rabbit hole, but just what did you get sued for? I'm curious.
So it was a contract agreement that pretty much they wanted close to, let's see, $40,000 and like punitive damages, lost wages, interest.
Right, but what was the claim? What were they claiming you did to them?
That I breached the contract.
Breached contract, okay.
Yeah, it's just a contract breach. So pretty much that, how do I summarize it? So long story short, they claimed that in the contract that my company was supposed to give them in perpetuity 7% of my profit. I don't even mind. Nobody in their right mind. Like, are you serious? I was like,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous. And like, everybody's sober here. What are you talking about? Right? It's not like I was drunk and signed a piece of paper. But they brought it up to the state, and the state didn't do the due diligence, and the state was getting ready to seize my bank accounts. And I was like,
oh my God.
Excuse me? Yes, it's okay. I'll deal with them too later on. It's all good.
Nice.
It's all good.
Keep a lawyer on retainer, you never know.
It's all good. But you know what, Biffy, let's get started because I feel like there's a lot, like the universe is telling us, because as soon as you get that phone call, depending on what the phone call is, you might drop. And so the universe is speaking to us that we need to get the show started.
Very
Biffy,
true.
what do you have planned for us today?
Oh, we have the thrilling adventures of Alec Baldwin and the unfortunate shooting of Halyna Hutchins. It really is just a tragedy, a very sad story.
Really is.
Are you familiar with this at all? What all
Oh,
happened?
yes. And I have an opinion about that. But oh, yes, I do. I do. Very familiar. Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, it is a sad story that I think all of
Yeah.
us are at least somewhat familiar with. It was very much in the cultural zeitgeist during the pandemic, and as of late, the trial has been going on for one Hannah Gutierrez Reed. But we shall see this gracing our excuse me, our true crime news feeds even more so in the summer as Alec Baldwin prepares to go to trial himself. So this is a live and ongoing story, but the facts of the events itself, at least, we'll be able to cover today. And Hannah's trial, there's definitely a lot to get through, so we're just gonna jump right into it here.
Mm-hmm.
On October 21st of 2021, at the Bonanza Creek Ranch in Bonanza City, New Mexico, cinematographer Halyna Hutchins was fatally shot, as was director Joel Souza. That's them right there. She died in the shooting.
They're both dead, right?
No. So Jeremy
Only
on the
her?
right. Yes, just Halyna passed away, unfortunately. Joel was shot, but did survive, and we'll go through what his wounds are and how that all transpired here shortly. But the shooting itself occurred during the filming of a movie called Rust. Rust, an 1880s Kansas-based Western film, follows aging outlaw Harlan Rust as he comes out of hiding to rescue his then 13-year-old grandson, Lucas Hollister, after being sentenced to hang for an accidental murder.
Mm-hmm.
Writer and director Joel Souza, who again is there on the right and is one of the victims, and lead actor / producer Alec Baldwin began conceiving the story for Rust late in 2019. Although the pandemic seriously stunted the film's ability to kind of get off the ground, production officially began in October of 2021 with a meager budget of around $7 million. That may sound like a lot of money to people who aren't really like familiar with Hollywood, but for a feature film, particularly one
Yeah.
starring a household name such as Alec Baldwin, that budget is teensy weensy. They're probably paying Alec $7 million, so you know, to film the entire thing probably cost as much and or less than it did to secure Alec in the titular lead role. This was really, by all intents and purposes, a few stages away from being an indie. In fact, for a lot of the cast and crew, with the corners that were being cut and the production schedule being as tight as it was, the making of Rust was in a lot of ways on par, if not worse, than an indie film.
Wow.
You know, go ahead.
Do you know if they must have canceled the production altogether, right? This movie is not happening.
No, so the movie is not being released. I believe the intention initially was to finish filming, but decisions were made to go against that. And we're going to touch on that briefly here as we go through this story. The decision to not release the film ultimately. But again, I think we talk a lot about themes on this channel, like last week with Nickelodeon. The overarching theme was power, and when we talked about the Thanksgiving Day murderer, it was family dynamics. When we talked about Woodstock, it was greed and capitalism. But here, when telling the tale of Rust, at the heart of the death of Halyna and the shooting of Joel Souza, it's really shoddy filmmaking, and I guess you could say, in a weird way, greed in a corporate entity trying to pinch their pennies to the point where safety was not as much of a concern as it should have been. Throughout the entirety of the film's production, what ultimately led Halyna to being in the position she was in at that exact moment in time was from a set where the wrong people were making the wrong decisions, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Of course.
At any rate, filming officially began on October 6th, 2021 at the Bonanza Creek Ranch in Bonanza City, New Mexico. Um, this was kind of interesting. Bonanza City, it's a ghost town located roughly 13 miles southwest of Santa Fe. And although
Yeah.
it was originally founded as like a proper mining town in the 1800s, like this was a legit western city, it was
Right.
abandoned shortly thereafterwards, only coming back to life in the late 20th century where Hollywood built this, what you're looking at, the Bonanza Creek Movie Ranch, containing
Wow.
a 19th century mining town and has been the backdrop of basically every Western film you've seen like the past few
Has it?
decades.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Silverado, Legend of the Lone Ranger,
What?
The
I
Ballad
had
of
no
Buster
idea.
Scruggs, A Million Ways to Die in the West. Yeah, they were all filmed at this
Right.
same ranch. Yeah, I thought that was really. I'd love to take like
Yeah.
a drone through there and just like see like how you know
Flat it is?
yeah, how detailed are these buildings? Like, is there plumbing? Like, I've always been curious
Yeah,
about
it's
that.
so flat. How did they get the plumbing going? Clearly, it's septic tanks. Yeah, it looks so far away from places. But it's a mock city, right? So that's why it's just all a bunch of cardboard. Wink.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm missing the comments here. Coffee Cake is saying, I think Hannah should have fallen on her knees at the sentencing and admitted her mistakes. Did she even apologize to the family and wishes she should have walked off the set, but all she saw was dollar signs?
Mhm.
Yeah, she actually files a civil lawsuit of her own against the production
That's right.
company. I think
That's right.
um again, the overarching theme here is very much like shoddy filmmaking and shoddy safety practices during said filmmaking, but um
Was there alcohol involved?
not alcohol. I wasn't gonna go down this road
Oh, okay.
for a lot. No, no, it's okay. For a lot of reasons, but
Mhm.
Helena, or sorry, rather Hannah, who would ultimately be charged with involuntary manslaughter, which again, these details we'll get to. But she was also charged with tampering of evidence, and a big part of the narrative surrounding Hannah was that the tampering of evidence charge was in relation to her trying to dispose of a small baggie of cocaine. And a lot of the attorneys and media outlets um, covering this story are trying
Mhm.
to purport the narrative that she was on drugs, which led to the shoddy armor and production work. I don't know how much stock I put into that claim. Like most of what we're talking about here is her going at home at night and smoking weed. It's not like she was showing up to the set all fucked up. At least none of the accounts that I saw. I mean, her
How
having
about
a
hangover? Maybe not fucked up, but a
from
little bit
weed,
like, whoa, I'm
maybe
so
from the coke.
tired.
I don't know. I think that's an easy out for people who don't understand drug addiction. But I'm just say like, oh, she was doing drugs, she was fucked up. That's why. No, like she. I mean, it would depend on how much of a level of functioning she was able to do with while doing these drugs. But like, I remember when I was in the throes of my addiction, going to work every day and just being fine. Like, it's just you're really once you get to a certain point, just using it to be normal. But
Mm,
I don't think the death of this woman, Helena, was tied directly to this girl's drug use. Is
okay.
it part of the overarching narrative? Possibly, but I would rather look at the facts of what happened and, in the wake of this tragedy, like the solid foundational facts we can point to say X, Y, and Z happened that led to this devastating it, rather than try to point conjecture upon somebody who might be struggling with addiction themselves, you know, I don't know, it put a bad taste in my mouth, but it's probably for me a sensitive topic, seeing as though
Mm,
I'm in recovery
okay.
myself. I thought it was kind of a load of crap. What I
Mm,
saw of it, anyways. But we will go over some of those details as we progress through
move
here.
along.
Yeah. All right. With a scant 21-day shooting schedule, relatively owned director Joel Souza, whose mainstream credits extend to basically just kind of Crown Vic in 2019. He had done a few smaller movies I'd never heard of, but he and the rest of the crew were literally under the gun, literally and figuratively from day one. Cutting
Mhm.
corners kind of just became the name of the game right out the rip. a mere 2 days before filming, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees were
Mhm.
on the precipice of a potential strike over poor work conditions and low pay. This
Mhm.
movie production would not serve to ale those complaints, but rather essentially become the tipping point for an all-out explosion. The head of which was very much because of the very real death of a very real person.
Person.
Um,
Yeah.
but there were complaints going on with this alliance not only before, but also vastly because of the conditions they experienced while making this movie.
Yeah.
Such safety and condition complaints on set consisted of no medic being on site for days at a time, firearm safety protocols not being followed. Put a pin in that, may become important later. Lack of
Yeah. Put
adequate
a pin in that.
yeah, and we may come back to that. Just saying. Lack of adequate hotel rooms, long hours far from home, left like certain crew members with only like 6 hours in between to like, eat, sleep, shower, all that stuff. Like
Oh
that's not
wow.
enough time off between days. Not
Wow.
being paid on time, being mocked by producers for not wanting to drive an hour from Albuquerque. I mean, the list just keeps on going on here. Lack of COVID protocol, just like a basic theme of poor onset safety,
Yeah.
period. Like, that's really the main concerns here. Like, there were everyday creature comfort complaints of these,
Mhm.
stagehands and camera operators and what have you. But at the heart of it, there were very real safety concerns.
Mhm. What did Alec Baldwin say about that particularly?
So Alec actually references this in the interview he does with George Stephanopoulos, and we'll take a look
Mhm.
at that later.
Mhm.
Um, so according to Alec, when cast and crew raise these kinds of issues,
Mhm.
again, this is according to him, so take it with a grain of salt. A lot of times, what I'll do is I'll take a chunk of my salary and I'll put that towards the crew to make their conditions better. So, um, one of the head film alliance guys, like a union rep or whatever, was one of the
Mhm.
camera operators, and he actually pulled Alec aside the day before he quit for this. Not only the safety issues, but a couple more incidents we're going to get to here in a second. Um, and basically, what he told Alec, again, at least according to him, was that they needed better hotel rooms. But there were a lot more other concerns that Alec claims weren't brought up to him. Like, they really just came up to him and said, we need better hotel rooms. And he didn't say it directly, but according to him, his plan was, and again, what his plans were and what he actually was going to do might have been two very different things, especially in the wake of a death. But according to him, he claims he was going to, like I said, take some money out of his salary to give them
Claim.
An Airbnb or something. Yeah, I don't know how much stock I put into that.
It's like Amber Heard saying she claimed she will donate.
Yeah, yeah, they're the same thing. Yeah, yeah. Oh, hey, Bubba in the house.
Hi,
Basically, it was a
Boba.
massive OSHA violation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Big one. Big
Yep, yep,
one.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, 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 yep.
I always find it so interesting that the hand of the law never really goes as far as it should be, if you know what I mean.
This is so true.
Because I could point out so many bad actors, and they all just home taking a shower, having a good meal. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
one person is dead, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the need of hotel rooms aside, they did very much raise concerns about. Sorry, I got a text about my. Anyways, um, they did very much raise concerns about these hotel rooms, but also there were several times in the complaints from the crew citing an incident where Baldwin's stunt double accidentally fired two blanks when he was told the prop gun was cold. A cold gun basically means that it's safe. And another where the film's prop master shot herself in the foot with a blank round. Like, there were all kinds of safety concerns and concerns directly relating to improper handling of firearms.
It's nuts. You would think after the first oops, everybody
Yeah,
would kind of pay attention, right?
yeah.
Redonkulous.
And it would be in the spirit of cutting corners and stretching the film's budget as much as possible that the decision would be made to hire an inexperienced armorer as her second job ever in the trade to handle the firearms for Rust as production, property, key assistant, and armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed. That's her. Again, this is a name we're going to be talking about a lot more as we go through this. Hannah Gutierrez Reed is the daughter of a legend in the industry of film armory, Fel Reed.
Oh, she's not a nobody. This is somebody.
She's a somebody in the sense that she's somebody's daughter. And because of that, what's the word for nepotism? Yes, because of that nepotism, she got a job on a film role as an armorer, and then led her to this role. And we'll get into some of my opinions and what your opinions might be about how involved she was in the shooting. But suffice to say, I don't think she's even working in the industry very much longer.
No.
Well, according to her, she spent years working alongside her father, but as I mentioned, this was really her only second outing as lead. And that's a big difference, shadowing somebody and actually holding the reins on a thing are two very, very different things. Her first film, The Old Way, was rife with complaints about her handling of firearms, even though she'll tell you things went well. There's actually an incident on that set of the first movie, the only movie she handled before this one, where she herself discharged a weapon without warning anybody, causing lead actor Nicolas Cage to just straight up walk off set.
What?
Yeah. It should be said, however, that technically her armorer duties were wrapped for the day by the 21st rolled around. Her last day of as production's designated armorer was October 17th, meaning, again, she was doing dual roles. She was doing props and armorer. So she was still on set for the 21st, but it was purely in a props capacity.
Yeah, in a different location, yeah.
Yeah. This is really common in Hollywood, actually, not just in crew, but also talent. Like, you hear a lot of voice actors, for example, they'll play like multiple parts in the episode of a TV show because they're getting paid the same rate no matter how many hours they work on set. So you'll hear like the the voice actor who does Spider-Man also play like Villager Number 1, or you know what I mean? It's very, very common. So that in itself isn't necessarily evidence that they were stretching the budget, but it does kind of, again, like paint a, we're seeing
interesting picture.
Yeah, we're seeing this picture get painted along as we go through this, and we're seeing this very similar brushstrokes of trying to save money, stretching a budget, and the overarching theme of safety being cast aside in the sake of those pursuits. Jonesy, I think she's in prison. Yep, she did end up getting convicted. I don't think she can.
She's only in prison for like a couple months. They should have given her. Someone is dead,
No, she got a pretty hefty sentence. We'll get there.
Really?
Under U.S. code, felons cannot legally. Yeah, she can't have guns anymore. She's just definitely not doing any armor work because she can't even have guns.
Yeah, Boba.
Okay,
Boba even knows the U.S. code 1932C. Okay, all right.
Takes the gun codes real serious out there.
Oh, no, he's not 18922C. Wow, look at that. I didn't even know. We all learned something new. So code 18922C. Can't hold a firearm and ammunition. Got it.
Well, leading up to the events of October 21st, which would be the 12th day of filming, 7 unionized cameramen walked off the set in frustration of the conditions, and they were just replaced. Show goes on. You can hear like the producers being like, "Oh, okay, 7 people walked off because things aren't safe. Just go get new ones, right? Like, there's just 7 more camera people we can go find in the middle of a desert in New Mexico, right? Like, just go get them."
Yep. They just walked out and they all got fired at the same time.
That's like half. Half the people that have been with this production since the beginning are just leaving, just walking away from the work that they tirelessly and effortlessly pursue. They're just walking away from, and nobody thought like, maybe we should take a beat. Like, let's just take a second and look at why this is. Nope.
Welcome to America. Nope.
Well, good fucking thing they did walk off, or one of them might have been in the line of fire, God forbid.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, heading to the morning of October 21st, the morning went by relatively uneventful. Alec was known as being somewhat of a second director, very much running traffic alongside Sousa, who is thought of on set very much as like the number 2 under Baldwin.
Of
So much
course.
so that even the armorers can be seen in footage kind of answering to him. There's a shot, I think I have a copy to it, we'll watch it later, where Alec has a prop gun in his hand and he's like using it as a pointer to like direct people, like, okay, you go over here and you go over there. And it gets to a point where the armor, Hannah, recognizing that this is an issue, instructs everyone else who's standing in the line of Baldwin's, like moving his gun around, like basically pointing the gun at a bunch of behind camera people. She instructs them to move out of the way rather than like correct Baldwin's behavior and poor handling of the gun, because
Yeah.
she's so intimidated by him.
It's a stupid ego. Yeah.
Rumor has been circulating online that a few of the crew took some of the guns or their own guns during the lunch break on this day to shoot at beer cans with live rounds, and that after said lunch break, the prop guns were then returned, leading many to speculate perhaps this is where the live rounds came from. These accounts have never been confirmed and to this day
I see.
remain unconfirmed, but I could see that. Like,
But hold on. Isn't the job of the armorer to keep those guns locked away when not in use?
oh yeah,
So then, even if let's just assume that this was true, then that's already a mistake again, right? So,
yeah.
every gun is literally the armor is like this. All right, Mr. Baldwin, here's your gun, and then she just stares. Yeah. Oh, foul. Excuse me, gun. Like that's her
That's the
job.
way it's supposed to be. But again, on
Supposed
the
to be.
day that this happened, she wasn't working primarily as armor. She's working props. So although she's probably trying to keep an eye right with the binoculars on there, like you did with
Why?
Nickelodeon. Where's my kid at? Where's my kid at? I watched that the other day. It was cracking me up. Anyways, she had other duties that day that might have been distracting her, but that's by no means any excuse. Like,
You see.
um, the safety of the people on set should have been her first priority, like no matter what.
Priority,
Like, I
no
don't
matter
care what.
what. I don't care who. I don't care if it's Obama in front of me or the other guy. No, that's my job. Step aside. Right? Beefy?
Everything that you would assume to be happening for like
Yeah.
safe and proper handling of guns was just like straight up not being done. Like it was a sloppy
Yeah.
operation, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think even her defense kind of acknowledges that, because their main defense in going in all this is that she was underprepared, she wasn't experienced enough, she was stretched too thin. Like that's really what they lean into, is that this whole production was unsafe, and that she was unqualified and shouldn't have been in that position to begin with.
She accepted the position, though. I mean, at some point, you're the
Yeah.
adult.
Again, we're gonna get into kind of my opinion
Yeah.
about this. I think the lawyer does make a good case, and we'll get into some of his claims and the defense he presents. But
Uh-huh.
at the end of the day, like somebody's gonna get charged. I'm sorry, but like, okay, here's my thing about it, right? Like I'm in fire safety, right? And there is like a huge amount of liability that goes along with that, right? If you make a mistake and sprinklers don't operate, and God forbid there's a fire and somebody needs to get out, people's lives are on the line.
Yeah.
Um, you get paid to be in the industry that carries said liability. Like just the insurance to carry that liability is expensive. So you're factoring that in when you ask for pay, how much these things cost, like what your day rate is. Like these are all financially figured in. So
Mhm.
when taking the job and accepting the money, a contract, both like literally and figuratively, like an unspoken contract, but also a very much written down contract has been formed between two people of, you're going to be in charge of the guns and you're going to make sure that things are safe. That didn't happen. So I'm sorry that you were in over your head and you weren't ready, but
That's right.
you took the money, you signed
right.
the deal, and you shook
That's
their
right.
hands.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Hannah.
Oh, Hannah. Well, rounding the day out after lunch, there was a gunfight scene set to take place in a church at the movie ranch. That's the still frame we're seeing
Yeah.
in front of us now. Firearms and ammunition were retrieved from a locked safe. Okay, so they were locked up by the armor. In some cases, I definitely read and researched for this that she would just leave stuff out on a cart. Specifically, like I saw lunch break referenced in certain
Really?
articles and stuff. Yeah, that she would just leave stuff. It sounds like they were locked this day, but she was just leaving stuff out. Live rounds in particular, we're going to get there of why there is a live round on set to begin with is like kind of a question unto itself. But yes, she
Mhm.
was definitely leaving stuff out unlocked. But apparently on this day, yes, firearms and ammunitions were retrieved from a locked safe by armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who then placed 3 guns to be used in filming on a cart. And this was standard. This is consistent with what I read. She had a little cart that she would use. Sometimes that cart would stay out when they take breaks. Sometimes the cart would go back and she'd get locked them up. Among them on that cart were a plastic gun that could not shoot live ammunition, a modifying weapon that could not fire any type of ammunition, and a solid frame .45 Colt revolver replica made by Pieta. According to a search warrant, the guns were briefly checked by Gutierrez Reed before Assistant Director David Halls took the Pieta revolver from the prop cart and handed it to Baldwin. Now, the exact events of what happens next have been jumbled up to no end, with different versions of the testimony claiming different things, but these are the facts we are 100% sure of. Gutierrez hands the Pieta to Halls, whom then hands it to Baldwin. B camera operator Reed Russell, Halyna Hutchins, and Joel Souza were behind the camera inspecting footage from a nearby monitor. In front of the camera, Alec Baldwin laid on the floor, Baldwin giving a brief explanation of what he intended to do in the scene, saying, quote, "So I guess I'm going to take this out, pull it, and go bang." And he says the word bang, wherein on the bang of that statement that he says, the Pieta revolver would discharge a single cartridge. Upon firing, the projectile traveled towards the 3 standing behind the monitor, striking Hutchins in the chest, going through her body, and then hitting Souza in the shoulder. Hutchins would be flown via helicopter to the University of New Mexico Hospital in Albuquerque, where she would then be pronounced dead. Souza would be treated by EMS on site and transported via ambulance to Christus St. Vincent Regional Medical Center in Santa Fe, where he was admitted and then released the following morning.
So, for my opinion, I think Alec Baldwin should be in trouble as well.
Well, he is being prosecuted, but according to him, he never pulled the trigger.
Oh,
That's
really?
his claim. That's his claim.
All right. He's gonna get away with it.
He probably will, yeah.
He got away with it the first time. It's only the second time around that he got into it. But the first time they didn't like, oh, fine, Mr. Baldwin, you're fine. And yeah, he's gonna get away with it. Oh, it's Mr. Baldwin. Of course, it can't be.
Let's check in with the comments here. So
Yeah.
Bubba's saying felons can legally own black powder / muzzle loaders. They're legal because they. Oh, I see. That makes sense. Yeah, they can own antique guns too, if I remember right. That is where Baldwin would have got chinned. You point a
Yeah, pointing the firearm to just go in like this, you know.
Bubba's saying, I know a bunch of firearm instructors that were losing their shit when they heard all about the BS that was going on. They were appalled. See, now when you explain to me, Beefy, my thoughts are different. In what context? Can you elaborate? What do you disagree with of what we're saying? I'm just curious. I'm not, saying one of us is right or wrong, But yeah, elaborate more. I'd love to hear from you, Coffee.
Yeah. And about what Charlotte said, if you take Charlotte Lack's comment, they did check the gun before they give it to him. So yeah, he must have pulled the trigger. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a physical impossibility for that gun to have fired.
Exactly. Yeah.
The FBI actually did an investigation on that into his claims that he never pulled the trigger. According to him, he pulled the hammer back with his thumb and then released it. And so by his theory, the forward trajectory of that firing pin being released when he let it go was enough to strike the priming pin of the bullet and fire it. But when the FBI looked into it, they actually had to. The only way to get the gun to fire without pulling the trigger, they had to physically break the gun to actually get it to do that.
You say he pulled the trigger. He wanted to be cheeky. Maybe he thought it was not a live round. He thought it was a fake round, and he wanted to be cool. Like, whoa, it's scary, right? Yeah.
I mean, there's film of him doing that, just pulling it. He'll say like, "I've never pointed at anybody," but you see, I mean, granted, who's behind the camera and who isn't, I guess is indeterminate, but you see where he points it like right
Mhm.
at the camera and points, pulls the trigger. Bubba's saying, which is downright BS, his finger had to be on the trigger for it to
Mhm.
go off. Too many firearm experts have examined that type of firearm, and there's no way it could have gone out without trigger touch.
No way.
You had to pull it twice, so he had to have done it. Yeah,
Oh,
so people are
okay.
chiming in the comments that he definitely pulled the trigger. But like, put yourself in his shoes at this moment, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I would just stand up and say, I did this. I'm responsible for this person's death. Whatever I need to do to get right, because I'm the kind of person that if I got away with it, that guilt would eat me alive, and I would just slowly like die from the inside out. So I would not only want, I would welcome like the incoming punishment as some sort of atonement to feel like I have paid penance for this, life that I've taken. Ugh.
So what if the punishment was life in prison?
Yeah, I would own that sentence. My life would, yeah, that would
Okay.
suck. But I mean, compared to, I'm picturing my life outside, knowing that I like stole somebody's life and then lied about it. I don't know, man.
I
It
mean,
wouldn't be much of a life.
ultimately, it's not really your fault because you didn't put the live bullet into the gun. Now, of course, you were recklessly careless, so to speak, right? So you have to pay for that. But I don't think life for being recklessly careless is a just punishment,
So this is
right?
very much the debate that gets sparked when you talk about this case.
Mm.
Because, like, yes, the armorer did not shoot anybody, so is she thereby responsible when she never even, quote unquote, pulled the trigger? Um, I
She is
think you,
responsible.
yeah,
The
I
armor
think
is responsible.
for sure,
Yeah,
if anybody should be charged here, it's her.
her. Right.
However, Baldwin does own a certain amount of accountability, regardless of what's going on, regardless of what he's told, to make verifications himself.
Well, no. I think he's not responsible to check and make sure that the munition are live or fake, because the armorer is the line of defense, if that makes sense. But it's his responsibility to treat the firearm with appropriate protocol. So he cannot be doing this with the GUN and then pull the trigger without it not being the scene. So that's where his
So,
recklessness is. Yeah.
would
So
your
he
opinion change if I told you that he was told it was a quote cold gun, which is where nothing would be in it? So, to your point, right? According to like proper procedure, when you're told it's a cold gun, then yes, you can click it and operate it, and you're to assume there's nothing in there.
Mhm.
However, um, there were actual rounds inside of there, so
No, in my opinion would not change because of the protocol, right? If the protocol says if you have the gun in your hand, this is what you can and cannot do, regardless of what's if the gun is loaded or not, then that's the protocol. And the reason why protocols are put in place is because disaster has happened in the past, and that's why they put protocol in place. So if you don't follow protocol, then you are at fault. So if you go in front of the insurance, I can tell you right now, the insurance is not going to cover any of this because they did not follow protocol. So any amount of money that will come out of anybody's pocket, the insurance are not covering it because they did not follow protocol.
yeah.
That's why protocol is important. So if you fail protocol, you are at fault. Protocol is almost like a pseudo contract. It's the way of doing things in a legal manner. So in other words, I
Yeah,
can
they
sue
they
you for
reference that in some of the research and stuff that I did. They referred
yeah,
to it as negligence. If anybody's found to be
negligence. Right.
negligent,
My word.
they don't owe liability.
Right, that's right. Yeah, negligence. I didn't think about that. That's right. So no, he was negligent, so he deserved to pay for that. Yes. Hmm. Just not lifetime in prison though. That's too harsh. But he
Yeah, I
deserved,
definitely
he
wouldn't say
deserved
that.
something.
Yeah. I mean, the family, the Hutchins family, they filed a civil lawsuit not just against Baldwin, but also Hannah Halls, and I think one other person, I forget who, I have it written down here, but
Yeah.
they settled out of court, so they got a massive payday. So I feel like
Yeah.
Baldwin's already paid to some extent an actual, physical sum, but whether or not he's paid punishment, that's a different conversation.
Right.
All right, let's check out some of the comments here.
Ooh.
I
All
think
right.
Hannah is guilty
Come on.
of mistakes, but I think she said I need to speak to an attorney before I make any statements. So in what context? Because I saw some clips where I saw two clips with Hannah. There's one where she is in the cop car like immediately after the incident, and she's like full on breaking down. They actually thought she was going to need medical treatment because they thought she was hyperventilating. Um,
Congratulating.
yeah, just completely freaking out, and she didn't even know anybody was dead at that point. The second clip that I saw was her at the police station, and the tone has changed a little bit. She's like, "I can never show my face around here. I just want to leave here and never show my face in this industry again. I'm ruined, blah blah blah. Like somebody's dead because of me." It's very damning actually to watch that. It's not body camera, but interrogation footage back. Especially now knowing that she's putting up this staunch defense that she's not responsible. It's like I guess you could make the argument, well, if you're not responsible, why were you admitting fault so closely? But I don't know if those two things track because
Right.
you didn't necessarily know you're going to be charged at that point. Not to say that would make all the difference in the world, but you don't know the full extent of what's going on. I would be feeling extremely guilty whether I was directly responsible or not as the armorer. Like say I did nothing wrong, I would still, like we were talking about, feel like a certain amount of liability would be on my shoulders, and so I would be saying those things.
Yeah. To Coffee Cake comment, I would have done the same if I was Hannah in that position. I wouldn't say anything at all, and I'd be like, I want to speak to an attorney. And the reason why is because when you are high in emotion like this, anything you say
Yeah.
could be held against you, and you don't know what you're going to say. And so, my first knee-jerk reaction, if I was to get in any sort of serious trouble like this, is I freeze and I shut my mouth and I say, "An attorney, please."
It's not bad advice. I mean, you really
No.
seek to gain nothing by speaking to police.
Yeah. Because you're too emotional and you're gonna say the wrong thing, no matter what you say, it's gonna be wrong in somebody else's eyes, right? And then it can be taken and spun. It can actually work against you, right? So speak to the attorney and be like, okay, what happened? Oh, this is what happened. Oh God, okay, what am I looking at? All right, well, what do you think I should do? Because the attorney is a professional, and we're not professional enough to handle this high level of stress, right? You kill someone. Oh crap! Right?
Right, right.
That's big.
Um, Bubba says his thumb pulled the hammer back with trigger touching
Wow,
the
touch the
trigger
trigger.
in a hammer
Whoa.
back lock position. It takes then a pound of pressure.
Yes,
Oh, he's
that I
saying.
know.
So, yeah.
So he really pressed it. Please. He pressed the button. He pressed it.
No,
Wow.
I think he's saying the opposite because when you cock a gun, the
Yeah.
the trigger pulls back a little bit, so it just takes like a tiny amount of pressure to actually fire it, as opposed to where if you were just to fire a six shooter, you have to do it's essentially two movements when you pull back the trigger. There's
Oh,
the
I see.
pulling back of the hammer and then enough force so the hammer releases and fires. What I think he's saying is,
He made
um,
a mistake?
no, the hammer was already pulled back, so the trigger was already in like firing position as opposed to the center of the
Ooh.
fire of the. I think it's called a trigger guard. It
So
was
with
like all
this
the way back, so it literally takes like a very
interesting.
hair sensitive amount to fire it at that point because it's really just a spring holding back that hammer,
Right.
which creates the spark to ignite the gunpowder.
So Booba, are you saying that it's a conspiracy that he was
The
set up?
hammer back will not let it lock, and it'll still have enough force to engage the primer for the gun to go off. The hammer
By the way, if you
back.
guys are wondering, Booba is like a gun expert here. He knows
Oh,
this. He
Coffee Cake saying George Clooney said he thought Alec Baldwin was responsible. I think I remember seeing that. There's a video with Will Smith when he finds a live round in a weapon. He tells everyone to stop and then opens up the. Oh, wow.
I can't
Opens up the
believe
weapon. The
this.
round falls. That's crazy.
You know, yeah, look, I didn't even know about the Will Smith situation. Yeah, I guess if I was an actor and there's a guns around, I'd be like, "You all following protocol? I don't want to die today. You follow me?" Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think I would be very scrutinizing everybody. It'd be like, "Who is the armorer?" Okay,
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the footage, but this guy right here, Alec, he was very much calling the shots
on
on
set.
set, like more
Yeah,
so than the director. to the point where the armorer, I think, felt intimidated and was kind of just beckoning to his requests, whereas she had an obligation to the safety of the people to kind of stop him and say, like,
Yeah.
I don't care that we're under a tight budget. Like, that's no excuse to be
Right.
not prioritizing safety. Like, I don't give a shit. You want to, go, go, go.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a step back here and make sure that everything's done right.
Yeah.
Well, as a result of the incident, production on Rust would be suspended indefinitely, though co-producer and Joel Nigman was confident that the film would resume production once the investigation ended. However, Nigman later clarified that he meant to express optimism and hope rather than confidence, as he stated that many involved in production hoped to honor Hutchins by completing her final work. That's a difficult call, because I
Yeah.
think, like, part of me thinks that Halyna, being an artist, would probably want the movie to be finished as like her final work. But then there's like this black cloud kind of surrounding the movie, and then people are going to go see it just because like the morbid curiosity factor. I don't know. I feel
Would
like
they
there's no
though?
right answer.
Because I feel like even the concept of the movie wasn't that interesting to begin with. When I
Yeah,
read, I was like, what? And then you factor in the fact that it was very low budget. I don't think any movie theaters was going to pick it up. And then if you factor in marketing, sure, you have a big star who's out there like Russ, right? Okay, sure. But do you really think it would have the interest of the public?
I don't
The
know.
world is very fickle.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. But
I mean,
do you think the
Brendan
family
Lee,
would wanted the movie to be finished?
huh?
Do you think her family would have wanted the movie to be finished?
I don't think the family would, but I
Mm.
think Helena probably would. Like, being an artist, she would probably want to see, for the sake of everyone else in that production who worked so hard on it. I don't think she would want the fruits of not only her labors but theirs to be for naught. I mean,
Mm.
it's difficult to say, posthumously what somebody would or wouldn't do. I
Agree.
mean, like I was about to say, they finished making The Crow even after Brendan Lee was shot, and that movie is a classic. So
That's right.
who knows?
You're right. All right. I
Yeah,
stand
they
corrected.
chimed in all this. Actually, they the mother of Brendan Lloyd. I forget
Wait,
Brendan
did he
Lee. I
just
mean
die the
Brendan
same way?
Lloyd.
I think he died the same way on set with a rogue bullet.
Yeah, an accidental shooting. Yeah.
Oh, look at that, Hollywood. And you think nobody learned their lesson?
Yeah. So that's what Brendan Lee's mother was kind of saying as she pushed for a bunch of reform in how guns are handled on set. She was saying like, I thought my son's death was enough, more or less, was like the summation of it, and so she used this as not an excuse, but a platform to get her
Yeah.
message out there.
Wow. Well, okay. I hope it changes. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Well, the subsequent investigation would just be an utter shit show. Alec Baldwin would initially tweet, "Oh my, it's so fucked up that this is the country we live in, where like people die and we're like going to Twitter for their like public statement."
Yeah.
But
Welcome to the new
Baldwin,
world.
yeah, Baldwin would tweet in the wake of this person's death. There are no words to convey my shock and sadness regarding the tragic accident that took the life of Halyna Hutchins,
I
a
can't.
wife, mother, and deeply admired colleague of ours. I'm fully cooperating with the police investigation to address. That's blocked. To
How this
address
tragedy occurred.
tragedy occurred. Yeah, and two, I am in touch with her husband, offering my support to him and his family. My heart is broken for her husband, their son, and all who knew and loved Halyna.
Mm-hmm.
The
What did the people say? People must have torn him apart.
From what I remember, and I didn't go through the comments like at this point, but from what
Yeah.
I remember in the climate and like my personal feelings about this, because I was very much following it, being like a true crime, like I knew one day we are going to be covering this on the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny that this has been long enough. Or actually, no, this was 2021, so I guess I do remember when the trial came out. I was like, I need to follow this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, um, I remember in the moment feeling sympathetic for Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
But all the facts weren't out. Like, according to
Mm-hmm.
him, and we had no reason to not believe him, he didn't even pull the trigger. So it was like, oh, that poor guy. And then actually, I remember exactly how I felt because a lot of other actors came out to speak to news outlets and they were like, I don't care what happened. Like, what I saw was bad firearm handling. Like, I don't care what is said, you have to check the guns, blah, blah, blah. And I remember being like, that's bullshit. Like, they're railroading this guy.
Mm. Hey, look what Coffee Cake said. So apparently the movie is going to resume filming. It's being produced by the husband. Where did they get the money to produce it? All right. I guess Alec Baldwin is footing the bill.
To produce the movie?
Yeah, if you look at Coffee Cake's comment, I guess the
Oh,
movie is happening. Oh, interesting.
wow.
Yeah. Breaking news, breaking news. Come over here, CNN and Fox
Interesting.
and MSNBC.
So I guess he was able to make amends with the family at least. I mean, I guess that makes sense. He's essentially paid them off, so I guess they like if you take the money,
Yeah.
that's like the old adage, right? Like if you take the money, you have no qualm to be pissed anymore. Like you've taken
Right,
the
right.
payoff, you have to shut up now.
Wow.
Well, the sheriff's office would execute several search warrants in the wake of all this, recovering some 600 pieces of evidence, including 500 rounds of ammunition, several of which would indeed include live rounds. Which, like, again, why the fuck are those there? Like,
You know what? Let me ask Booba. Booba, when you buy live bullets, is it normal, or is there like a margin of error where maybe fake bullets are like it's just part of the mixing match of bullets? When you go buy bullets, do you expect some
so
potential live rounds in
to
fake
that
bullets?
to that point, because this is something I had to research in preparation for the show. Let me skip ahead a little bit. For anybody that don't know, there are essentially three terms as it relates to firearms and filmmaking. And bullets or cartridges is what they're actually called.
Mm.
There's the one all the way on the left, which is a dummy round, which is literally just it's a dummy
Rubber?
for filming purposes only to make the gun look like it's full. Then
Oh.
there is a blank, which has gunpowder but no bullet, which simulates the look and feel of a gun without the kickback or anything like that. And then there is a cartridge, which contains, the firing pin, the gunpowder, and then a bullet at the end of it to seal it all up.
So that's the live round, the cartridge?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And I guess they will drill a hole in the dummy rounds, and you can shake it. That's like you hear that very frequently throughout the
Oh,
trial. Here is
I
that
see.
um, Hannah was shaking her rounds to make sure if it was a dummy or not, and she even recalls shaking a few of the rounds that they were all dummies when that gun was loaded.
But Beefy, why not if you're a movie set, why not just order dummies and blanks? Why even have cartridge in
That's
the
my point. Like, why would you even have a live round in there to make that mistake? Like,
yeah.
it makes zero sense. What is the need to have an actual live round on set? There is none, is the answer. And the fact that there were live rounds there to begin with, like, very much speaks to her inexperience, but also negligence of, putting safety forward. Like, the second I saw a live round, I'd be like, hold
Yeah.
on, we're
Yeah.
checking all of these right
Yeah.
now, and nothing else is happening until that's done.
Yeah. And it's also possible. Let me give you a comparison. So I worked in the laboratory for quite a few years, and in the laboratory, you have to do what they call a lab report. Long story short, where you have to document pretty much every single thing you take and don't take and put back. Everything is accounted for to the milligram, and you hardly hear about crazy chemical explosion, all that stuff, right? So it's completely possible for the protocol to be followed. I just think movie productions, like you said, they're cutting corners. They just choose to ignore protocol and choose to go, maybe instead of buying only the cartridge and the blanks from a reputable manufacturer who maybe charges more because they're unreputable, right? They go to the cheap one who has more mistakes, right? Because it's completely possible to not have that mistake.
So as much as I do think that is a viable theory, I don't think that's what's happening here.
What's
I
happening?
saw I saw photos where the blanks and the live bullets had like a significant difference in that one, the dummy round has a hole drilled in it, but more importantly, the priming pin, like the pin that actually creates the spark to detonate the gunpowder, looks different. And so I can't see them ever making that mistake. You know what I mean? Like, not only would there be no need to purchase any live rounds,
Let's
but
see.
you wouldn't just get a box of blanks and there's an accidental live round in there because you'd see it right away. You know what I mean?
I see. Okay, well then in that case, let's throw tomatoes. Then there's really no excuse.
Yeah, there's none.
Wow. All right. So okay, I
And
guess now.
furthermore, the projectile that was dug out of Seuss's shoulder, that was also suspected to be a live round, um, was all but confirmed due to the damage in the firing process and then the ballistics attempts to get it out.
Wow.
Damage was occurred to such they could not, for 1000% certainty, but they're fairly certain it is in fact a live round. That it wasn't like a wadding or
I
something
see.
in a blank or anything like that. Like it was an actual uh is it canister? What's the word I'm looking? Cartridge. Sorry, cartridge.
Mm,
Because a bullet and a cartridge are two different things. That's something
mhm.
you always just hear the term bullet, but a bullet is the actual bullet that sits on. Anyways, I learned that in the research for
Can
this.
you go on to Buba's comment? He mentioned accept blank or simulation rounds because to my knowledge, blanks don't always work in live firearms and live rounds don't work in blank guns. Because then in my head,
Interesting.
I'm thinking, then in that case, on set, you buy a gun that's specifically modified to not take live rounds, right? So according to what Buba is saying, that already does exist. So again, wow, no excuses.
Oh, okay. Coffee cake. Good to see you. And yeah, the
Bye
guy pleading guilty. We'll get into him, but you can catch it on the replay. Thanks so much for coming. Have a good night, coffee cake.
bye.
Um, in relation to what Bubba is saying here, um, a lot of the dialogue surrounding all this was why there is even a need for live round or
Mhm.
quote unquote live rounds in filmmaking anymore with the advancements that have made with CGI.
Very good
A
point.
In fact, a lot of movies nowadays are completely in the wake of this banning live firearms on site and using like airsoft with CGI technology
Oh,
combined.
uh-huh. Yeah, nice. Look at
So it's
that.
very much becoming
A thing of the
archaic
past.
technology. Like yeah, we'll probably get to a point where they won't be used at all.
It's so nice to stay home. Do you sometimes go like beefy? Do you sometimes think to yourself like, wow, if I went out a lot more, something bad could have happened to me?
Yeah, I get hit by a bus or something. Oh yeah, nothing's happened to me at home.
Sometimes I'm like, wow, it's nice to stay home. Nothing
Yeah,
happens. It's perfect.
you're into your dad mode for sure. Just want to stay home, protect
Oh,
my pack. That's what I
stay
hear
home.
time and time again.
Oh my lord. Wow. Okay.
All right. A federal investigation would take place as well, ultimately resulting in charges upon three people on the onset. First, director David Halls, whom Alec Baldwin cites as the person responsible, at least in some of his statements, for handing him the weapon.
Done.
He was charged with the misdemeanor of negligent use of a deadly weapon,
Wow.
to which he would plead no contest and would serve 6 months in prison with 5 months probation, a $500 fine, and 24 hours of community service. He's the gentleman that Coffee Cake was alluded to. What about the guy who pleaded guilty? That's this gentleman,
That's him,
David
yeah.
Halls, who handed Alec Baldwin the weapon. Hannah Gutierrez Reed and Alec Baldwin would both consecutively be charged with involuntary manslaughter. Hannah's trial is where we are getting the bulk of the clips from and information from today. Has already occurred, and she has been found guilty. And again, Baldwin's trial is set to take place in July.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the state of New Mexico's Occupational Health and Safety Bureau fined Rust's movie production $136,793 for firearm safety failures after it was confirmed that David Halls, again, the gentleman who pleaded guilty, assistant director and safety coordinator, handed a large caliber revolver to Alec Baldwin without consulting with on-set weapons specialists prior to or after the gun was loaded.
Wow.
Regulators note that Halls had previously witnessed two other accidental discharges of rifles on set, which we
Wow.
referenced earlier, but no one took investigative action, corrective, or disciplinary actions in the wake of those claims. In
Wow.
February of 2023, the producers agreed to pay a reduced penalty of $100,000 to resolve the OSHA case with New Mexico Occupational Health and Safety Bureau.
Wow. So
Hannah, oh, go ahead.
sorry. So who's gonna pay that bill? I know you said the Rust production, but who
Yeah.
who is that? Okay, you know what? Maybe it's a production company. All right, got it.
Yeah, I mean, they might have had movie left over in a trust somewhere to finish filming. The studio might foot that
Yeah.
bill. Difficult to say. I didn't find that anywhere in my readings.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Hannah, being faced with these charges, hired former U.S. Attorney Jason Bowles to defend her. You guys have probably seen this guy, at least if you have watched any of the trial, like I have. He's a pretty no nonsense lawyer. He makes a good
Yes.
case for her. It's weird because, like I said, I do feel like Hannah is pretty black and white guilty. Like she should be held responsible.
But
what?
No,
What?
finish. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Apologies.
Watching this guy though, he makes a really good argument, and it's weird because I'm usually on the side of the prosecution. It takes a lot to sway me off of the state side because I don't know if I just assume everybody's guilty or just I want to believe in our criminal justice system, even though I know how broken it is for my own sanity and my own protection of if I got arrested, that at least people would have good intentions, which we're finding out more and more they don't.
Nope.
But yeah, I'm very frequently rooting for the prosecution, but in this trial, it wasn't even close. I'm definitely on this guy's side. If I was on the jury, I probably still would have, voted to convict her, but begrudgingly so, because this guy he's a good lawyer. He does a great job.
Yeah, he's a good lawyer.
And to be fair, he's a former U.S. attorney, so he was the prosecution at a certain point.
Yes. So what argument is he using?
So we can listen to his opening statement if you want to hear the whole summation of it. But again, it really comes down to
her experience. According to him,
a few things actually. Hang on, I'm gonna roll down to my script now because I have exactly what he said. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
During a television interview, he suggested the incident was a result of sabotage. Without naming any individuals, Bowles cites the walkout of the camera crew earlier on October 21st, calling the crew disgruntled and implying that one of them may have been motivated to, quote, tamper with the scene by placing a live round in the chamber of the Pieta revolver. Just a month later, Hannah's father would echo these same sentiments, claiming there was, quote, a lot of motive for the incident to be sabotage. So his defense is kind of three-pronged. It's very much she was in over her head. She was asking for resources, and she was this has been verified that she was trying to get more armorer days, and she was given a certain. I think her budget was actually doubled, and then she still wanted more time. But yeah, he's saying that it was an unsafe set, and she was making the best out of a shitty situation, and this is more a symptom of that a rush production, cutting corners, stuff like that, combined with. There's also possible this issue of people placing live rounds, and she shouldn't have been hired in the first place.
Right. So, I mean, look, knowing what I know now, because I had no idea about the live round. As an armorer, right? You got to make sure everything is locked with that stuff. So I didn't understand that it's normal to have live rounds with fake rounds.
It's not. Wait, where are you getting that? It's not normal.
No, I mean as the industry standard, right? So it's not unusual to see live rounds within the industry over there with
in
fake
Hollywood.
rounds. Yeah, right.
It is. Who's saying?
Will Smith saw one. Coffee Cake said Will Smith saw live round in his set.
Right. She was citing as an example of how odd it is that he immediately was shut everything down and was everyone look at this. There's a fucking live round in my gun.
But it happened, right? And so I was just under the impression that it could have been a mistake from. I don't know how else to explain this, but anyway, in any case, it doesn't really matter because my whole thing is that until today I was really against her, but after today and having understanding of the rounds and this guy's the lawyer opinion about the disgruntled situation and comparing it with the safety on set, yeah, I guess maybe I have second thought. I still would have
So-
convicted her though.
Yeah, again, saying
have.
like hearing his whole
Yeah, I still would have.
spiel and whatever, it definitely makes a sympathetic plea. Like he's doing the best possible job he could have.
Ooh,
But
yeah,
I would have convicted her too. Do you actually want to take a look at the opening statement?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I would have quit the first time the oops live round. I'm like, what? Oh no. I would have been like, every bullet in here, please, now. I would have. I don't know. Oh.
I can't think of any reason why there would need to be a live round on set. Like that was kind of what I came back to over and over again, is why would there need to be a live round in any capacity? You know what I mean? Like what would be the reason for it? Can you think of one?
Yeah, I see what you mean. And also, you can track, you can see who purchased the rounds, right? So if the production purchased the live rounds, is that her smiling?
Oh, that's a good. Actually, yeah, I think she does have a little grimace on her face, but that's a good point too, because I know they really track like
How dare you smile?
the rifling in a barrel and how it creates lines on bullets. I wonder if there's like the same level of diligence for bullets if you can track down who bought them, because then it would.
Can you track down who bought the bullets?
I mean, you have to assume if so, they would be able to track pretty quickly. But then again, she's filing a civil lawsuit against the prop company, so maybe they did that and they were able to ascertain it was the prop company's bullets.
Fault.
Anyways,
Yeah.
let's we're not going to listen to all this, but I'm going to put it on speed and a half, and let's just listen to just get the gist of the opening statement here, because we still have plenty of time, and it's very compelling.
Telling it is. Now, Ms. Pickle came back and said, no, we only have, you will hear that Hollywood actors are not allowed to point guns, real guns, at other actors or crew. It's like every other safety with guns in any other place in society. You learn these rules and go into the classes. You learn these rules if you've ever owned a gun. Rule number 1, never point a firearm at somebody unless you intend to shoot them. And that rule was broken. And that's going to be the first thing you're going to hear that caused this tragic accident. The second thing is that Hannah is being made a scapegoat for are deliberate errors and mistakes by production. So the opening, counsel for the state talked about Ms. Gutierrez-Reed and tried to put all of the onus on her. At the time, she was 24 years old. She had been hired for 2 duties, a props assistant, and you're going to hear what that is, and the armorer role, 2 different duties. So they were splitting her between those and making her, for example, roll cowboy cigarettes. That was one of them for the movie, and they had props that the actors have. And so she was having to do that to take away from her armorer duties. You're going to hear about that. Now, OSHA is a New Mexico agency, and that New Mexico agency inspected the movie and investigated the shooting after the shooting. You're going to hear that OSHA found fault with production. They found numerous faults, numerous mistakes on production's part, not Ms. Gutierrez-Reed, on production. You're going to hear that OSHA indicated that there was a rush set, that there were several safety errors. I'm going to talk about those in a moment, but I want to make that very clear. When the state talks about Ms. Gutierrez-Reed being negligent, what really happened is production was negligent. Production put her in that position. They put her in the position of having 2 jobs, a props assistant and an armorer, and expected a 24-year-old under really tough conditions to keep up with everything that was going on. And you're going to hear about that.
You're going to hear about it, all right.
You're going to hear that Ms. Gutierrez-Reed.
Oh, you're going to hear about that later.
Gabrielle Pickle, who's on the set, you're going to hear Gabrielle Pickle. And she asked her for more armor days. She said in this email, when I'm not able to focus on my armor duties, this is when mistakes happen. And she was telling her this. Now, Ms. Pickle came back and said, no, we only have 8 armor days, and that's all you're going to get. So out of the whole course of the movie, they didn't allow her to be an armorer and to perform those duties to the extent that she had to. And that's going to be a very important point, too. They moved her between 2 different things, props assistant and armor. Counsel for the state in his opening said that Ms. Gutierrez-Reed had the job of sourcing the ammo and sourcing the firearms on set. Now, you're going to hear when you go through this about another name, and her name is Sarah Zachary. Sarah Zachary was the props head. So as the head of props department, she was Ms. Gutierrez-Reed's boss. In that role, Sarah Zachary had to source the ammunition and had to source the firearms. So that was not correct, what counsel stated in the opening. In reality, that was Sarah Zachary's job. Now you're going to hear that what happened is those 2 worked together in conjunction. Hannah was, Ms. Gutierrez-Reed was supposed to be doing armor, and then she was supposed to run over and help Sarah Zachary whenever she wanted the help on props. So a lot of what you're going to hear is a chaotic scene created by production and forcing somebody to do these 2 different roles. You're going to hear witnesses in this case, including professional armor that the state has hired, and other people that will tell you it's completely inadvisable and a terrible decision on a movie like this with so many guns that you have a part-time armor. It just is not a good idea. And
so I can hear you wowing in the background.
Listen, I changed my mind.
Good, right?
Not guilty. Not guilty. Where's my hammer? Free her! Free her!
Sounds like Bubba is saying the same thing. I couldn't
Listen,
begrudgingly convict her. There were far
yeah,
too many lapses in safety and procedure, too many risks. I don't know. See, like again, he makes a compelling argument, and watching that whole thing when I walked out of it, I was like, damn, I feel bad for her. Like,
yeah,
I
it's not
do
her
too.
fault.
But again, like,
Yeah,
she's the armorer. It's her responsibility. Like, the
she did
liability
sign a
is on
contract.
her. She
That's right.
got paid.
That's right. She did sign a contract. She did sign a contract. That's right. Consequences with your signature. But judged by your jury or peers, he would have turned me and flipped me and turned me out. I'd be like, no, not guilty. Sorry, free.
I would have been really conflicted for sure.
Yep, I would have been conflicted for sure too. Because if you really, the main thing here that the guy said that made me flip in my head is that number one, she's young. She's 20 something year old. Oh, young, and I want to be in Hollywood, mama. Right. So of course she'll do anything and everything that she can to be like, I want to be the best. Please give me my job. So the guy over there is like, great. I got this young, fresh thing, and she's gonna overwork for free. Oh, look at that. We saved some money, right? Predatory. And so, of course, the little girl is going to be like, all right, I'll do everything, right? I'll get you cigarettes, I get the water, I'll be the armorer, I clean your shoes. It's like, do you know what I mean? So, like, I totally understand why she feels pressure to do everything, but you can't do everything, right? And so, the production of the adults, so to speak, right? But again, she's above 18, she's signed a contract. So, whoa, this is tough one. So this is why
She was also a nepotism hire too. Like, if she was just a normal girl off the street and didn't have her daddy there,
yeah.
no way she would have gotten that job.
Yeah, but you know what? I believe in nepotism. Yeah, sorry about that, bro. I believe in nepotism.
So Bubba, what are you saying? Because in one comment you're saying I couldn't begrudgingly convict her, but then you're saying I don't feel bad for her. So are you saying she should be convicted or she shouldn't? And yeah, for sure. What's up, Jamie? By the way, but yeah, if they were both charged in the same trial, that would be pretty epic.
That's funny. Yeah. Wow, this is a tough one. No, but the defense makes a very good point. Obviously, he lost, but you know, and then I would have been like, sorry, daughter, you know, that's just how life is. You signed the dotted line, and that's why I save that for my final thought. Yeah. I'll tell you a story of my final thought.
Well, again, she wasn't just charged with involuntary manslaughter. She was also charged with tampering of evidence. And this is actually something that kind of came out in the whole trial, was her kind of dishing off this little baggie of cocaine. I forget her name, but this friend of hers, she worked in the prop department with her. She's actually in recovery too. And she goes up to Hannah's hotel room. This is the night of the shooting. And the cops are basically on their way up. And Hannah kind of just subtly asks, as her friend's on her way out of the hotel room, hey, can you hold on to something for me really quick? And, you know, the girl just trying to meet the employer is like, yeah, no problem. And so Hannah kind of hands her something and then shoos her out the door and closes it. And as she's walking away out, she looks at what's been handed to her, and it's a fucking baggie of cocaine. And what really irritated me this is coke was like her drug of choice. I don't think that there was any way that fucking Hannah didn't know that. Like, she knew that she was giving drugs to an addict. Like, that part was like, fuck you, girl. But at the same time, again, I'm split on this too, because like I hate that she did that. Yeah. But trying to use this narrative that her being, you know, quote unquote, on drugs during filming had anything to do with the death of this woman, I think is a stretch. And trying to use that to sway a jury, I think is kind of dirty pool.
Sorry. Right.
That's just me.
No, I mean, I agree. And also, you know, young kids, they do drugs. Sorry about that. But yeah, they do. So, you know, I'm not super shocked that drugs was involved. I'm not surprised in terms of the context, right? You know, it's one of those things where, like, when a mistake that severe happens, everything comes out. Everything comes out.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything comes out. This is where, like, you literally don't move, don't breathe. Everybody, you turn into a nun. You're a priest. You're a nun. You're a charioteer. You love pets. Everybody becomes kumbaya because everything will come out, and everyone would be looking at everything.
Oh, it's like those trials from like the 70s and 80s where there's like the woman who's, you know, one of the suspects, and they go down the rail of she slept with this person, this person, this person. Of course she did it. She's a whore. It's like, fuck off. The two could not be further apart.
Yeah. It's like
Pisses me
it's like
off to
that.
no end.
It's like the Crowleys. You know, the parents of the kid who did the school shooting. They both went to jail, right? But during the investigation, it turns out that the wife was having an affair with the mailman. And
Oh, so they didn't do it. Of course not. How could they have? She was having an affair. So
no,
dumb.
no. Like in the investigation of like, okay, we're gonna prosecute the kid, and then they took the phone because they wanted to establish that the mother was aware that the kid went into school, which she was. But in the conversation, they were like, "Oh, who's this honey? Who is this? You going to hotel rooms with who? The mailman?" So then the prosecution went to the mailman and be like, "Can we prosecute you?" And then that's where the whole thing came out the bag. And during the court case, she had to fess up to the affair in front of her husband right next to her. It's like, oh crap.
That's like in Netflix's The Staircase. There's the guy whose wife. Have you seen that, by the way? Steven Peterson or whatever. His wife got.
I haven't finished, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the state's theory is that he was gay and he was having an affair with like a male prostitute, and that the wife discovered it. And so, in the rage of being confronted, he killed her. And as they are like trouncing out all of his gay lovers or whatever, they come to like the closing statement, and it is like seared, burned into my brain, like the just like pivotal example of this, of the prosecutor going, "There was gay porn on his PC. Hardcore gay pornography."
Yay.
And it was like she was really trying to sell to like this, Southern jury of like the 80s, like, he's the demon.
No.
He's having sex with the man. He's from the devil. He must have murdered him. What kind of monster would have sex with a man? And it was like, oh, you're so fucked. It's
so funny.
It was so gross.
I was laughing.
Again, it's like dirty pool. Like, just win the case on its merits. Like, you trying to, trounce somebody's name through the mud to win your case is just, it's gross.
That's what happens.
It is what happens.
Stay away from the law. The whole life will come out to light, and everybody will laugh, like we are now.
Yeah, on a true crime show somewhere.
It's terrible.
Baldwin would claim, obviously, like I said, that he never pulled the trigger. And like I said, the FBI did reports of that and investigated it. And they concluded that not only can the revolver only be fired when pulling the trigger, just to get the gun to fire, they had to physically break said prop gun just to fire it. So, like, more or less, he's lying about that. But however, several on-scene accounts also corroborate Baldwin's claim that he did not pull the trigger. Like, several people on site are saying they never saw his finger not only near the trigger, even enter the trigger guard during the incident.
Wow.
But again, like, there's little to no reason for that firearm to fire without a trigger pull. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of up in the air.
Reason. Forget little.
Yeah.
Hi, Sadie.
Hey, Sadie.
Sadie. Hi, Sadie. Sadie.
All right. I mean, what do you think? Do you think he pulled the trigger?
Yes. Because he did it before. Because he did it before, so most likely he did it. He would do it again.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah, there's video of him on scene.
Yeah, he did it before.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's no stranger to being inappropriate. Why would he suddenly become appropriate? Come on.
Nope. Yeah, so we hear from Hannah where she's referencing kind of like the crappy conditions on set. And when she was giving her whole gun demonstration, she was talking about how normally she likes to work one-on-one and kind of go through the motions or whatever. But for this production, she had to basically train like a bunch of people at once. And like the whole cast and crew were like all huddled around them, like they were taking a break in the shooting to like get this, armor training over with. So she was like, had all these peering eyes to like rush through it. And like half the time, Alec Baldwin was like on his phone, like not even paying attention.
Of course.
That was pretty damning.
I've done some of those, and you know what I do when I'm the presenter? I call you out. I'm like, Alec, you're not listening. Why are you on your phone? Yeah, I call you out. Call you out.
Well, let's hear another damning piece of evidence against
the production.
Hannah here. Yeah, against Hannah.
Realized, oops, I'm in trouble for what I did. Something I'm sure the jury will be thinking about.
I love that guy's hair.
A crime scene technician testified next, recounting where rounds of ammunition were found.
These 2 rounds were sent to the FBI because they were suspected live rounds, which the FBI confirmed.
So these 2 rounds here, this picture was taken before they were sent to the FBI.
Correct.
And these turned out to be live rounds,
Yes.
meaning real bullets.
Yes.
And what's this one down here?
This is a dummy 45 round with a hole drilled in the side.
And these were just loose on the prop cart?
Yes.
Can you tell me what we're looking at here?
This is a close-up of one of the gun belts.
Where was this gun belt collected from?
I believe this gun belt was on top of the cart.
So remember when I was talking earlier how
Oh
in
my
a
God.
box,
Yeah.
see how
Yeah.
this one's like blue? It's actually
Yeah.
silver, but it's the light reflecting. Yeah. She's gonna reveal it here, but this one was a live round.
Prop cart?
Yes.
Were any of these rounds sent to the FBI?
Yes.
Which one?
The one with the silver primer.
Did that turn out to be a live round?
Yes.
Crazy. Well, and that was just
Alright.
on their gun belt. So like somebody else could have gotten shot. Like if Halyna hadn't gotten shot, that person
Okay.
could have just loaded it.
Let me
Like,
ask you this question then. Could there be any possibility that somebody else put that belt on that cart besides her?
if they did and she didn't catch it, it's just as much her fault. I hate to say it like
because
that.
she signed the contract. That's right. Okay. Okay, never mind. All right. So she's guilty. All right, guilty.
Guilty,
Darn
guilty,
it.
guilty.
God darn it. I'll be a terrible judge, you know. I'd be like, jail. Oh, I changed my mind. Come back. Oh, wait, jail. I changed my mind. Come back. Oh, my Lord.
Well, on March 6, 2024, so just last month, after a jury
Yeah.
deliberated for a whole 2 hours, they weren't conflicted apparently. Gutierrez Reed was found guilty on the charge of involuntary manslaughter. I think that's fair. She's not getting charged for murder. Like, she was involved. Her negligence led to the death of somebody. Like, I hate to say it, like, you didn't know there were live rounds. You weren't tracking your guns.
So
Like,
serious.
as
Yeah.
much as I could be swayed by this attorney, like, those are the stone cold facts, honey.
Yeah.
Like, it kills me, but like, you're 24. She was sentenced to 18 months. So
Yeah, 18 months. Yeah. That's
yeah,
long
it's a year and a
time.
half, and with good behavior, probably more like closer to 9,
6
like a
months,
year.
9 months. God darn it. You know, if I ever go to jail, put me in solitary till my sentence is over. I don't want to be around. No, please put me in the cave until I'm
You
done.
think that you're gonna be one of, you would do
I
like
don't-
2 days in solitary and be
You
like,
see?
put me back out, put me
No.
back out.
I would just dream of the outside world because I'm so not a criminal. I don't even know how
Dude,
to act.
you
as a
are
criminal.
like the titular example of how people need people. Like, you are a talkaholic. You love people. I guarantee you, with trapped alone with your thoughts, after 2 days, you'd be begging to go back to Gen Pop.
Yeah, but you know, did they fight over there? Ow. Oh,
I've seen you without your shirt on. You
Okay.
can fucking take yourself. Don't you say like you fight dirty when you get into a
Well, I
fight?
know how to fight, but like, do you know how exhausting fighting is? You're exhausted, you're tired, you need sleep, you're sore, it hurts, you're bleeding. I can fight. It's just I don't want to fight. That's why if you're in a corner, but if you're in a corner, people look for you to fight.
Yeah, you and me both. Sounds like a sore next day is what a fight
Yeah,
sounds
it's like,
to me.
wow, I just went into a fight. My jaw.
Yeah.
No, put me in solitary. Leave me alone. How long? 1 year? Okay, I'll just play with myself for a year. Yeah,
I'll play with myself.
I'm just saying. You know what I mean? No.
Well, almost immediately after the verdict was read, she would be remanded into custody until her sentencing hearing set
Yeah.
for April 15,
Aw.
2024, where she would be, in fact, taken to prison, not just jail anymore.
Was she crying?
No, I think she took it like a, like a champ.
Okay, like, man, you're so funny.
She would also
Okay,
file
okay,
a civil
yeah.
lawsuit against the prop company, PDQ Arm and Prop, for allegedly being the ones to bring the live rounds on set. The
Mhm.
Hutchins family would also file civil lawsuits against Hannah, Baldwin, Halls, and prop master Sarah Zachary. However, ended up settling out of court for what can only be assumed to be like an unsurmountable sum, likely at the behest of Mr. Baldwin, and well deserved. And from what we heard, it sounds like they're going to finish the movie. I think that'll be a good, in her memory. They dedicate it to her. I think that's probably the closest they can make to the right decision. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to Baldwin. In December of 2021, Baldwin would finally break his silence regarding his shooting during an interview with George Stephanopoulos from Good Morning America. Shout out to GMA, by the way. Love those guys, like Michael Strahan's the man. Anyways, Stephanopoulos would conduct an interview with Baldwin, and this is where the iconic moment happens where Baldwin claims he didn't pull the trigger, and you hear like Stephanopoulos be like, "What?"
Do you have that?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that up
Oh,
here. We're gonna take a look at a few clips from that interview, but we'll get to that moment. Yeah, have you seen this before? This interview?
No, I've never seen that before.
Oh, okay. This is good.
I would go to any lengths to undo what happened.
I think the big question, and the one you must have asked yourself 1,000 times, how could this have happened?
Well, there's two things I want to say about that. One is that when I talk about this, my concern is that I don't sound like I'm the victim. Because there is a victim. There's a woman who died. And my friend got shot. He's my friend. And she was a new friend. I met her and we worked together on the mapping out of what we're going to do on the film, which, you know, in the movie terms, if you go make a movie with Scorsese, you and the DP don't sit down and they solicit your ideas of how to make the film. You know what I mean? In the case of Halyna, we sat down collaboratively and talked a lot about what we wanted to do in that a precious amount of time we had. But I want to make sure that I don't come across like I'm the victim, because we have two victims here. And the second thing is that all of what happened on that day leading up to this event was precipitated on one idea, and that is that Halyna and I had something profound in common. And that is we both assumed the gun was empty, other than those, dummy rounds.
I want to get into more detail on the day in a minute, but let's take a step back. What was it that drew you to this project in the first place, to Rust?
I'd worked on a project with Joel before.
Joel Souza, the director.
Right. He did this movie Crown Vic that I produced, and Joel and I stayed in touch. We're friends, and I loved Rust. He said, I want to send you this. And I read it, and I said, I love it. I love it.
Rust, a low-budget Western.
What do you think about that? We just watched.
He's full of shit. I'll tell you why he's full of shit. So, number one, good job on his PR team, right? To write the beginning, because he went straight towards the victim.
Yeah.
He went straight towards their compassion. Bravo. But this is where there's a discrepancy, at least when I understood. He said that there were two people who did not know that the gun was loaded, which is him and Halyna.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, where the disconnect is because this is not the first time that he's reckless with a gun in his hand on set. Yeah. And then if you take that and factor in everything he just said at the beginning, oh, these are my friends. Why are you pointing the gun at your friends? Why are you pointing guns at your friends? Right? And so already right there, even at the beginning was well put together. So someone
I think what you're saying there is why he hammers down so hard on I didn't pull the trigger, because there's really no defense. Like,
there's no defense, right?
Yeah.
But he's sympathizing with you. He's drawing you in by saying sorry to the victim, which is correct. And then he lays the foundation of, but I didn't know that it was loaded.
I mean, he's an actor. Like, his public persona and doing this is literally his job.
That's his job. But it doesn't make sense. You can't spend a good 30 seconds talking about your friend and then point the gun at them.
Well,
I would never point a gun at you, even if it was a unless it's a plastic gun, yellow gun. Never. Even if I'd be like, no way. You don't point that at your friends. I wouldn't be pointing even at my dog, even at my trees. No, not even my trees. Yeah, believe it or not.
I want to play another portion of this clip.
Yeah.
And in reference to that, keep in mind as we watch this man is an actor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if what we're seeing is genuine. It feels real to me, but again, this is a professional actor, so it's difficult to say how much is genuine. So watch this and let me know what you think.
Yeah.
She's wonderful.
What did you know about Halyna Hutchins before she started working on this?
I knew nothing about her until Joel said to me, I got her. She was fantastic.
Halyna Hutchins, the talented cinematographer praised by many in the industry, was a trailblazer in the field historically dominated by men.
Make sure we don't see what a talent.
The Ukrainian-born cinematographer quickly gelled with Baldwin.
The people who watched The Daily said that her work was beautiful. She was someone who was loved by everyone who worked with and liked by everyone who worked with and admired. sorry. But admired by everybody who worked with her.
Russ,
Verdict.
Did you see your tear?
I wasn't looking for actual tears. That's a good
Oh,
point.
So
I
was
will
looking for a
say
tear.
that, I mean, it's obviously he's crying, he's doing the sniffling thing, but like the thing he did with his voice, that's a really hard thing to fake. But he is an actor, so it's, he could be really crying, but those be, crocodile tears.
Well, look, I'm going to show you something. When you cry, like you could have like you could still be crying, right? When like the tear falls off or whatever. But when you go to all
Yeah.
that stuff, when you're convulsing, if it's generally natural, tears will fall off because there's biology and chemistry behind that. When you get to that point,
Yeah.
the stress level is so high, your body has to release it. There will be a tear. There's nothing coming out of it. That sniffle, because his head is down and sinus came down. Get out of here with that. But forget about the tear. Really, is that I'm still stuck up on the fact that he has yet to acknowledge the point that he pointed the gun. Right?
Yeah. In fact, we don't get there until the second part of this. Yeah.
Okay. So let's get to that point. Let's see what he says, because already, when someone speaks to you, listen with one ear, but really pay attention. That's not what being said on the context, and that's why I take notes. Go ahead.
Okay. It'll be the next one. The next clip we look will be his response
sure.
to the stuff on all this. I want to play one more clip because I think this is a better example of him really feigning to be so distraught over this. The first one I feel like was a good example of acting. If it was acting, it was really well done. This I think is just blatant. He's pulling for sympathy. But let me know what you and that people in the chat sound off too. If you're watching this, let us know.
Yeah, please.
If you think this is real.
Who are watching the show, people who back home, you have no idea how unique an environment a motion picture set is. It's kind of, there's an instant familiarity. The amount of care, these are people who are professionals who have really good jobs in a field they love. And I looked at all these people and I see how hard they work. They're so hardworking and they're so conscientious. And you're around people and you're part of one of the great collaborative processes in the world, movie making. Everyone moving like a watch to get everything done. And when you kind of, I don't make that many movies anymore because movie making demanded that I travel and I didn't want to leave my family. All these movies I made, I stayed home. I didn't want to go. If I went away, I went away for a week. To leave my family for 4 weeks and go shoot this movie, that was a big deal. And I'm sitting on this pew. And so help me God. I sat on that pew right before they called lunch. And I said, this movie has made me love making movies again. Because I used to love to make movies. I did. I worked with people once. I was going to do the movie The Edge. And they called me and said they got Tony Hopkins to do the film. What do you make of it?
Yeah, looking for you here.
Oh, is that him?
And I started sobbing.
That's him, yeah.
I just started sobbing because I thought, oh God, I'm going to have a chance to work with this guy.
Any chance you can go easy on me?
When they cast me in It's Complicated with Meryl, I thought, I'm going to get to go make a movie with her.
Here's your tears.
Sorry. People, they have their dreams. No matter how old you are, you have your dreams.
We can cut there.
Listen, you see how his tears reaction came out when it came about his longing for acting? Nothing came out when he talked about this girl. He didn't see her as a friend. He saw her as just another employee. Shut up. Please.
I had the same thought that the first part is good acting, but it felt like acting. And the second part, he's prattling on and on of his great experience, these wonderful actors.
Yeah.
I get to work with Tony. I call him Tony, not Anthony Hopkins. Tony Hopkins. We're on a first name basis. He gets stuck. He's in tears over how much he loved making movies with them, and it sucks this person had to die, but at least it's erupted the fire in me to make movies again. So what's one life for the 5 or 6 movies you might get from the bald man? Who cares?
Yeah.
Just shut up about it.
Yeah. Like, who really cares? Like, really, who really cares?
He sucks.
Maybe that's why he's not making movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a long time before. Has he done anything since? I don't think he has.
Well,
I
to
could
be
be
fair,
wrong.
he has about 6 kids. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah, he
Okay.
does have. Wow, you know your Alec Baldwin. He does have.
That's
6
a lot of
kids.
kids. Which I have one and I want to quit.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I'm done
he's
with
also
sex
rich.
together. What'd you
Oh.
say? Oh yeah, and he has money with all these nannies. Get out of here
Yeah.
with that.
Charlotte says, I
Mhm.
saw the interview before. To me, it's bullshit. He only feels sorry for himself.
Yeah.
He just talks about himself. Yeah, and that's kind of what we just saw.
Yeah.
All right. You want to see the part where he talks about the actual shooting?
Yeah, let me see that. Let me see that acting. Go.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute.
Next scene. A shootout inside this wooden church.
Oh, it's really flat.
Set the scene right before that happened. You're sitting in a pew in the church.
Right.
What's the scene supposed to be?
The scene is the two guys are there who have got me, cornered, and they think I'm shot pretty bad, and I'm kind of wilting, and they have a gun, and the sound outside distracts them, and I then draw the gun cross-draw out of my holster, pull the gun up like that, and start to cock the pistol. Cut. I'm handed a gun, and someone declares, they said, "This is a cold gun."
Dave Halls.
The first AD. In my years on the sets of film, hot gun meant that there was a charge in there, and cold gun meant there was nothing in there. When he's saying this is a cold gun, what he's saying to everybody on the set is, you can relax. The gun is empty.
That's what cold gun means.
Well, cold gun means there's no charge in there. There could be dummy rounds.
A dummy round looks like a real bullet, but is completely inert. It contains no explosive charge. And you were rehearsing that scene. Was it an actual rehearsal? There's some disagreement about that, whether it was a formal rehearsal at that time.
This is a marking rehearsal where I'm going to show her. She's standing next to the camera. She's like this. You're me. She's got a monitor here. The camera is here filming that way. She takes a monitor that is his monitor, the operator, and turns it toward her. It swivels, and she says to me, "Hold the gun lower. Go to your right. Okay, right there. All right, do that. Now show it a little bit lower." And she's getting me to position the gun. Everything is in her direction. She's guiding me through how she wants me to hold this angle. And I draw the gun out, and I find a mark. I draw the gun out, I find a cut. And what's really urgent is the gun wasn't meant to be fired in that angle.
So if you're shooting directly into the camera lens, you're not aiming.
I'm not shooting into the camera lens. I'm shooting just off.
Just off.
Right, in her direction. I'm holding the gun where she told me to hold it, which ended up being aimed right in below her armpit, was what I was told. I don't know. This was a completely incidental shot, an angle that may not have ended up in the film at all. But we kept doing this. So then I said to her, now in this scene, I'm going to cock the gun. And I said, do you want to see that? And she said, yes. So I take the gun and I start to cock the gun. I'm not going to pull the trigger. I said, do you see that? She goes, well, just cheat it down and tilt it down a little bit like that. And I cock the gun. I go, can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? And she says, and then I let go of the hammer of the gun and the gun goes off. I let go of the hammer of the gun and the gun goes off.
At the moment. The decisive
That was the moment the gun went off. Yeah, that was the moment the gun went off.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never. That was the training that I had. You don't point a gun at me and pull the trigger. On day one of my instruction in this business, people said to me, never take a gun and go click, 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 because even though it's incremental, you damage the firing pin on the gun if you do that. Don't do that.
You hear how he really stuck that point in as he finished that, right? Like,
and he went really fast. He skimmed over it.
Yeah. It was almost like it was rehearsed. Like, no matter what, I have to get this point in. I didn't pull the trigger, and I would never point the gun at somebody and point it. I don't know. That's how it reads to me. I could be.
No, of course. And it's a lie. And it's a lie. Listen, when someone lies to you once, especially when it's like an apology situation, everything they say is garbage. And it has to be like that, because if you're lying to me at a moment where you are supposed to be vulnerable, then what is
the whole thing's
what,
out the window?
Yeah, everything is just poop. Poop. Yeah, it really is. So I didn't pull the gun. You must be crazy.
It's funny because I remember watching this in real time. We didn't know the details again. We didn't know the facts about the gun. And this won me over. I was like, dang, I really feel bad for him. Like, he's just a guy. They gave him this gun. He didn't know. And it really worked. Like, it saved him.
Yeah.
Now knowing we know, I hope he gets convicted.
Yeah. I hope he gets convicted. I've always said that I hope he gets something, not life, because that's too much. But he needs to be negligence,
I
because
wonder what kind of prison he'd go to. Some special celebrity thing, I bet.
oh my God, these people have money. It's a whole different world there. No, they come in your house and they say, okay, look, you're in trouble. Am I? Yes, you're in real trouble. Okay, what do I do? Okay, you shut up. Here's the script. Learn it. Put all the acting skills to use. See you tomorrow. We're gonna rehearse it. Listen, it's a whole different world out there. But
yeah. Let's hear a little more of this.
And Hall's attorney told ABC News that he was watching and agrees that Alec did not pull the trigger and that his finger was outside the trigger guard. So you have this Colt 45, you just pulled
the hammer as far back as I could without cocking the actual.
And you're holding onto the hammer.
I'm holding that. I'm just showing. I go, how about that? Does that work? You see that? Do you see that? She goes, yeah, that's good. I let go of the hammer. Bang, the gun goes off. Everyone is horrified. They're shocked. It's loud. They don't have their earplugs in. No one was. The gun was supposed to be empty. I was told I was handed an empty gun. If there were cosmetic rounds, nothing with a charge at all, a flash round, nothing. She goes down. I thought to myself, did she faint? The notion that there was a live round in that gun did not dawn on me till probably 45 minutes to an hour later.
45 minutes to an hour.
Well, she's laying there and I go, did she get hit by wadding? Was there a blank? Sometimes those blank rounds have a wadding inside that packs, it's like a cloth that packs the gunpowder. And sometimes wadding comes out and can hit people and it can feel like a little bit of a poke. But no one could understand, did she have a heart attack? Because remember, the idea that someone put a live bullet in the gun was not even in reality.
Did you go up to her? Did you back
I went up to her and then we were immediately told to get out of the.
You can even see Stephanopoulos kind of giving him like the
doesn't make
face,
sense.
like he's trying to get a read.
Building. We were forced to get out of the building. The medics came in. I mean, I stood over her for 60 seconds and she just lay there kind of in shock.
Was she conscious?
My recollection is yes.
911, what's the location?
Thoughts?
He's full of poop. You know, like if you have a gun in your hand and you think it went off accidentally and the person falls on the ground and faints, so you don't go, is she responsive? In my recollection, yes. So already a discrepancy. You just said a sentence ago that, oh, did she faint? And then the next sentence, yeah, she was conscious. So which one is it, Alec? And then the other thing also is that your reaction? Oh, she fainted. Oh, she must have a heart attack. That's your reaction? Think about that. What's the normal reaction if you're a person with a GUM pointed at someone and it goes off? You don't think, are you fainted? No. Like the level of comment, like he thinks, well, he thinks the viewers are stupid, clearly. Clearly, he thinks they're dumb, but just simple critical thinking there.
Well, the general public is, to be fair.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So what happened now? What is that? Is this
So this is him finding out that she's dead.
I can't believe he's getting away with this. Okay, go ahead.
It's the moment Alec Baldwin is informed that cinematographer Halyna Hutchins is dead.
I do have some very unfortunate news to tell you. What?
The actor is being questioned by deputy sheriffs in New Mexico after disaster struck on the set of the Western movie Rust.
She didn't make it. Yeah.
Baldwin is in a state of shock. He freezes for 24 excruciating seconds. The detective tells him that there's still hope for director Joel Souza, who was also wounded but ultimately survived.
Joel's still at the hospital, but the other person involved didn't make it.
Baldwin puts his hand to his chest, then to his head. Moments later, he was photographed sobbing in the parking lot of the sheriff's office as he spoke to his wife, Hilaria, who was home in New York taking care of their 6 children.
6 kids, girl.
It is crazy. Like, chill down. I don't know.
No, he lied to me at a vulnerable moment. Everything comes out of it.
Everything's bullshit now.
Yeah, everything's full of shit. I'm a difficult sell, you know. And the reason why is because everybody was trying to sell you something. Okay, let's go off the bat with that attitude. But now it's okay to buy something from someone, but it needs to be like, if you're gonna tell me I'm apologizing, I'm listening. And you know what? There's value in being honest too. You know, like it's not like there's value in being honest. Yes, you're trying to avoid the legalities of stuff, but you know what? You speak to your lawyer, but look, listen, that sounds very stupid. I didn't pull the gun, really. Like there's some level, because if you insult, then it's insulting. I just feel insulted, and then it's like, well, what do you expect? I don't know how to phrase this without taking too much of airtime. But Beefy, go ahead, because it's almost time, Beefy.
I want to take a look at a couple more clips. How
Okay.
much time we got? Yeah, we got 15 minutes. If you are against Baldwin, these clips are, yeah, this is gonna get rough for him. If you're already kind of saying like you don't believe him,
Guilty.
this is gonna be bad.
At least 6 months in jail. You know, 6 months.
This is some footage from the actual movie set. Let's take a look at this.
The movie set.
Alec Baldwin on the set. And there were some more failures he saw.
What am I looking at?
Terrible recoil.
One more. I forgot the recoil stuff. No, right away. Let's reload. Here we go. So, Halyna. Hi. What? Here we go. Come on. Well, I had to go close to Danny. We should have 2 guns and both were reloading.
That conduct that we're seeing on the part of Mr. Baldwin.
Oh my
is that
God.
typical conduct from an actor on a movie set?
No.
So yeah, I'm gonna cut off the point there with the witness, but yeah, you can hear him guiding in, you know, the hurried tone. Come on. We get. It's not the kind of energy a lead actor should be doing, let alone to a fucking armor. Like, it's crazy to me.
You know what? Hold on one second. Charlotte, you make a very good point. I remember the scandal where the wife was like, I am Spanish, and then she wasn't Spanish. Oh, Lord, they're both liars. Oh, forget it. Guilt, 7 months in jail. 7 months. Add an extra month for the fact that the wife lied. You know what? 2 more months, 8 months in jail. No, because listen, someone is dead. And, oh, my Lord. Look, if someone behaves like that behind closed doors, they're going to behave like this in private. So he's not a pleasant person. I don't care what you say. And, you know,
but you get my point in that, right? Like, he sounds like the director in that clip. Like, when I saw that, I was like, ooh, that's bad. Like, it's right on brand of the overall theme here.
Yeah.
That Baldwin was really the only one with any sense of power on this set. Like, he was really the only notable name.
Yeah.
But also, admittedly, the only one who had done as many movies as he had.
Yeah,
so
with a diva. Yeah.
He's yelling at this girl who's obviously inexperienced and is clearly intimidated by him, but is also stretched really thin. Come on, reload. She's not going to take her time in that moment. It's like she can't even think straight. She's got this like intimidating famous guy screaming at her, hurry up, we got to reload. Okay. There's another take where she's like rifling through her little fanny pack trying to get, she's not going to be looking at each round to see like, yeah, if there was even a chance there was a live round there, like, of course, it's just, I mean, I would be intimidated by him in that moment. Like, it's too much, bro. Like, you're the fucking lead actor. Come on. It was, it's so bad. Now, again, like, just to play devil's avocados, you know, hindsight is 2020. You know, no one was anticipating an incident like this, and I'm sure,
of course,
you know, there's pressure like this on every movie set. You know what I mean? Like, for a lot of these people, they're really lucky just to be doing what they love, so they probably put up with a lot of this, and it kind of becomes the norm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks. That's what I was trying to explain earlier. That it felt, my opinion changed because from today's show, it felt like this was a norm. That's what I'm trying to explain. English guy in a way, but yeah, you're right. Whatever you just said, I agree with you 100%. It's a norm.
To contextualize this even further, this was in 2021 during peak of pandemic when no movies were filming.
All right.
So the fact that this even got greenlit to get made, they must have felt like in rarefied air, like we're setting a precedent. We're really blessed to be making this. We've gotten this $7 million. We are so lucky to get out of the house and film this.
Work. Yeah.
But there were firearms involved. Like there was so, I don't know.
Do you
Anna
think
really needed to step in that moment when he's going, hurry, 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 come on, come on, come on, and be like, no.
No.
You've now got me frazzled. I'm gonna go take 5 minutes, and you're gonna fuck off.
Yes. Matter of fact, all the guns come to my pockets right now. No.
Yeah.
Alex, sit down. I'm the armorer. What's your problem? No, I would have been fired. That's I would have been
But
fired.
again, she was inexperienced. Like this was a great opportunity for her. Like, of course she wouldn't.
Yeah, of course she wouldn't.
Too bad.
And can you imagine someone like Alec donating his salary with that attitude and that sass and that diva attitude and those fake tears?
Yeah,
I don't think
like
so.
no wonder he's
No.
donating his salary. He's a fucking
Yeah, like,
asshole
I'm
to
doing
everybody
my
on set.
salary. Bullshit. My lord.
Gonna look at just a couple more, and then we're gonna wrap up here.
Charlotte, you make such good points. Oh my god.
But what's Charlotte saying?
He said, imagine what would have happened in Kill Bill if Alec was in it. I know.
Was he supposed to play Bill? I never heard that.
The swords are real. / oops. No.
Oh god.
That she was negligent. So here is both Mamie Mitchell, a script supervisor for the Russ movie, and then crime scene technician Marissa Popple.
How did Ms. Gutierrez compare to the other previous 24 armorers that you worked with?
I found her to be inexperienced.
Did you find her behavior on the film set to be professional?
I did not.
Did you ever take notice of where firearms were stored during filming or around the set?
I saw them on her cart.
And when you saw them on her cart, was she present?
Not all the time.
Can you explain what your concerns were with the state of the prop cart?
Well, I just never seen anything like it. It was messy to me. They looked different than what I was used to.
These 2 rounds were sent to the FBI because they were suspected live rounds, which the FBI confirmed.
Meaning real bullets.
Yes.
Oh, we saw this part already.
Who is this lady with the nice makeup and the eyelashes and who is that?
The one we're looking at right now? She's the
Yeah.
prosecutor.
No, behind next to the criminal.
Oh, I think that's an attorney for
Oh, I love her. Look at that. She's like, look, I'm a lawyer, but don't get it twisted. I get turned down. I love it.
I get turned down.
I love it.
Gutierrez Reed acknowledges that there were more problems with him.
What do you teach?
Oh, this is just basically where she says that Baldwin was on his phone. We already talked about that.
Well, listen. What a disaster.
Well, there you have it. You know, kind of a definitely a sad tale. I think the right decision was made with Hannah, and I think some penance should be given to Baldwin. I don't know if he's necessarily guilty of involuntary manslaughter, but there should be some form of punishment for him too. I feel like he is not, I wouldn't say just as culpable, but culpable nonetheless.
He pointed the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting trial. We might have to do a follow-up on this depending on how eventful it is. Yeah.
But do you notice something interesting about this is that they're really making her into the scapegoat, because originally Alec Baldwin was walking free until they was swoop around and be like, oh, wait a minute.
That's actually another point on her attorney's opening statement, is that of everybody here, she was the person with the least power and the least to lose. So she was the easiest target to just pin this on.
That's right. That's right.
I've heard he is an ass to everyone, so I can't imagine. Wow.
Yeah, I've heard he was an ass too.
I've actually heard that as well. Yeah.
Like, he's a diva. He's like, I'm Alec Baldwin. Do you know who I is?
On the scene of Community, I heard he was a real fucking dick.
Here's my Spanish wife. My Spanish wife. And my 6 chicos.
I mean, all the Baldwins are dickheads. They're Baldwins.
Oh,
you know what sucks about being a Baldwin? Nothing!
God. You're right. They're all dickheads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am curious what your final thoughts on all this are. But before we do that,
The final thought.
So I'm going to tell you a quick story that happened in my real life, really. And so once upon a time, I was a young chipper walking around and working at work. And I was working as a personal trainer at the time. And, I managed my own schedule. And so there was a block of time where there was nothing there for me to do. And that was intentional. I wanted to sit my ass down and relax and stare at the ceiling because that's what I wanted to do. It's my time.
Were you working for yourself or was this for
No, I
someone
was working for a gym, but I had full control of my schedule. So
You're a great trainer, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I sit my ass down in the office, and it's an open door policy. So I sit my ass down in the office, and I literally stare at the ceiling because that's what I wanted to do. And one of the ladies, she was a salesperson at the time, she walks over and looks at me, stares a little bit, and I stare her back. Don't play with me. And I was like, okay, we can stare at each other. And I smile. And it was snowy that day. And for some odd reason, whoever was supposed to take care of salting the driveway or whatever of the entry didn't do it. So she takes it upon herself to walk, in my space and be like, so, why don't you take the salt over there and go salt the driveway? And I looked at her and I said, that's not in my job description.
Yeah, lady, you crazy?
And she looked at me like, you're what? What? It's a team effort here. And I said, I don't care. That's not my job description. I'm not a salt boy. I'm not here to salt anything.
I'm
So
not a salt boy.
That's my job.
Oh,
You mind?
you're the best, bro. I love you.
So she
Hold
took it
on.
upon herself.
It's also beneath you. Is really what it comes down to. Like
No,
it's a
that's not my
deliberate.
job description. But I'll explain to you why it's very important why you say no. Because she took it upon herself to go up the ladder, the chain, to go up to the lawyer, up to the HR, up to the CEO, because I refused to do a teamwork effort. Because those three idiots were like, oh, wow, really? So they came down here and trying to bully me into be like, well, it's a team effort. And I was like, listen, what does the contract say? Read it to me. Nothing here says put salt on the driveway. I was very firm about that because you know why? Because if something was to happen, oh, someone slipped and broke their leg. Oh, I'll stare. You're the one who put the salt on the driveway. You're in trouble. That's why it's important you stay within the boundaries of your job occupation and you voice it out. It's not in my job description. You didn't hire me.
Purview is
the
the
driveway.
word. Your purview.
Exactly. So they couldn't fire me because I didn't break anything inappropriately. So they were gesticulating for whatever reason. But the whole point of me telling the story is that, don't be afraid of saying no. We just witnessed a situation where this girl was being looped around and do 1,000 things. If that was me, I would have been fired, of course. But I would be like, no, that's not my job description. Matter of fact, put the gun down. What do you mean? No, that's my role. Put the effing gun down. That's my job description. Stay true to what you're hired to do. And to even bring it further, really, to the rest of everything, if you see something wrong in wherever you are, speak up. Just make sure it's safe, though. Don't be in the middle of the cartel in Mexico speaking up. No, you shut up and you go home. But I mean, speak up if you see something wrong. Speak up, especially in the workforce. Speak up. Be like, no, that's not his job. Speak up, okay? Because people will do what you allow them to get away with, and USA is very predatory. Yeah.
Yeah, USA in the world of everybody wants to sue and lawsuits. Liability is a very real and terrifying thing.
You have no idea.
I can tell you firsthand, again, I mentioned earlier, I'm in the fire protection industry. That industry in particular, when things go wrong, they can be expensive. God forbid somebody gets hurt. The first thing that happens is exactly what we saw here. They immediately start looking at who to point their fingers at.
Who do we
And
sue?
it is a callous symptom of high liability industries like this, that they are just constantly looking for someone to put the blame on when things go wrong. To the point where just like this, where it almost should be clear who owns the liability, and yet we've spent a whole 2 hours and there was a whole trial debating it. Like, it should be very clear cut. The gun misfired, there were live rounds, the armorer is convicted. Well, no, there was a lot to it that had to go through, and that's why liability is so important. And so, like you're saying, not just necessarily in work, but in everything you do.
It's not my job.
Take accountability for what you do and stand by what you do. I love it.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, with that, thank you everybody so much for watching. Everybody in the house, it's been a fun little episode.
Yes.
Charlotte, Jonesy, Jamie, I haven't heard you in the chat for a while, but I'm sure you're here. Sadie, Alicia, I haven't seen you, but I'm sure you're here. everybody who came in, and everybody in the replay crew, thank you so much for watching. Alistair, can you do me a favor? Can you take us home, my good friend?
Yes, I will. Thank you so much again for watching. Press like, subscribe if you haven't done so, and we will see you next time. Be nice to one another, but most importantly, be nice to yourself. Take a moment to say, wow, I'm doing great. You know, be a little narcissistic, a little bit, right? It's okay. It's okay to be like, I am amazing. I am great. And that's all. See you next time.
Have a good week, guys. Bye.
End transmission.
Thank you for watching.